Sorry, I didn't have my microphone on. Finally situated. Good morning, everyone. So this month, we're moving through the kosha system to our monomaya kosha. And right, the first layer is the annamaya kosha, which is like, you know, the most obvious part of your body, the part that you can see, all the tissues and bones and muscles and the physical structures of our body, our organs, and the actual tangible physical structures of our body, the part that we can see and touch. And last month we talked about the prana maya kosha, which is your energy body. So it's just that life force that animates all of your cells and tissues. The things that make, it's just what makes you alive, the breath of life. We get that through the food we eat, through the air we breathe, and the sense of aliveness through our body. And we can manage that by primarily paying attention to our breath. Okay. The next layer of our body is the monomaya kosha, and this is described in lots of ways, but we're kind of moving more to things that we can't see, even more subtle than energy and prana. And sometimes it can be called like our chemical body. Like if your prana is your electrical body, then the monomaya kosha is your chemical body, but really this is your body of thought and feeling and hormones and all of those things that happen internally that are driven by what's happening in our minds. And these are generally pretty instinctive, but we can start to bring some awareness. And, you know, my favorite resource about thought and feeling is Byron Katie. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the introduction of her book, Loving What Is. And she says, "You are the teacher you've been waiting for. You are the one that can end your own suffering." And she talks about what suffering comes from. She says, "The only time we suffer is when we believe a thought that argues with what is." When we argue with reality, we create our own suffering. And that happens on the level of thought. And our thoughts create the emotional reactions in our bodies. She says, wanting reality to be different than it is hopeless. And she compares this to trying to teach a cat to bark. If you want reality to be different than it is, you might as well try to teach a cat to bark. You can try, and in the end, the cat will look at you and say meow. Wanting reality to be different than it is hopeless. You can spend the rest of your life trying to teach a cat to bark. It says all the stress we feel is caused by arguing with what is. If you pay attention, you'll notice that you think thoughts like this a dozen times a day. People should be kinder. Children should be well behaved. My neighbors should take better care of their lawn. The line at the grocery store should move faster. My husband should agree with me. I should be thinner or prettier or more successful. Right? These thoughts are ways of wanting reality to be different than it is. Okay, and all the stress we feel is caused by arguing with what is. She says, after I woke up to reality in 1986, and she tells the story of her life, but she had just been depressed and mean. and had this experience where I am feeling this way because of all of the things that are going through my mind. All the thoughts that I'm thinking are really what's creating me to feel this way. She says, after I woke up to reality in 1986, people often referred to me as the woman who made friends with the wind. She lives in Barstow, California, and she said, Barstow is a desert town where the wind blows a lot of the time, and everyone hated it. People even moved from there because they couldn't stand the wind. The reason I made friends with the wind, or with reality, is that I discovered I didn't have a choice. I realized that it's insane to oppose it. When I argue with reality, I lose, but only 100% of the time. How do I know the wind should be blowing? Because it is blowing. It says when we stop opposing reality, action becomes simple, fluid, kind, and fearless. But we often don't even realize what the thoughts are that we're thinking that are causing our dissatisfaction or discomfort or our pain in our lives. And we have to start to be aware of those. And it just starts with some awareness of what it is that we're feeling. Some of us have an easier time noticing what it is that we're thinking. Some of us have an easier time noticing and naming what it is that we're feeling. And it can go either way. But our internal experience on this level really creates the lens through which we see the world and determines the quality of the life that we experience. That we don't have to resist what is or argue with it. But the way we're able to get more awareness is to start to notice without judgment. Notice the things that are happening without trying to change them or fight them. Notice what we are feeling, give it a name, and allow it to be there. Okay. And as we go through the month, we'll kind of talk about these things more and more, and I'll give you some worksheets and things, but just want you to start to pay attention to the times that you argue with reality and what experience that creates for you inside and how that translates to the way that you interact with the world. And as we move, we'll work with some strength things today. But I love the acronym RAIN. Recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. So when we come up against something, we can just recognize that it's there and then create some space to allow it. Okay. Now the I for investigation isn't how can I fix this? How can I make this go away? But it's more, what does this place need? What does this feel like in my body? What color is it? What temperature is it? How can I make more space for this? It's getting really curious to get into your experience rather than trying to change or fix it. Okay. And then the N is to nurture or to bring a sense of real loving compassion to whatever you're experiencing, that this belongs, right? I embrace you, experience, and this belongs. Go ahead and find a comfortable seat. Let me turn on my clock so I know what time it is. And just start to tune into your breath. And just notice the quality of the energy in your body. See if you can kind of gauge what the emotion is that you may be feeling right now or that you have been feeling throughout this morning. Make sure everyone's muted. And see if you can name that. And just breathe with that sense. You know, for me, I felt a bit scattered with just different things happening in the house and different fires to put out. Whatever it is that you've been feeling this morning, I just want you to notice what it feels like in your body and where you feel that. Right, this scattered feeling that I've felt this morning is kind of this upward, fast moving energy or feeling. I feel it in my head, in my chest. But as I take time just to notice and describe, it starts to shift. Let yourself get into your breath, and just for a few breaths, we'll just do an even 4 count. So just exhale so we can synchronize with each other. And then inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Just keep with that rhythm. And you can keep your eyes closed or just really softly open them, and we'll start to find some movement connected with that breath. So as you inhale, just draw your shoulder blades together, let your heart open. You can even look up toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, really round your spine, tuck your chin, tuck your tailbone underneath you, spread your shoulder blades apart. You can hold on to your knees or have hands on your lap. But just move with your breath in this seated cat-cow motion. Just rocking on your pelvis. And if you want to switch that up and find circles, feel free. Or some side bends. If you're doing circles, just go 2 or 3 times one direction. And then switch. And then pause in the center and just bring your arms straight out in front of you, and we'll do a little bit of wrist work. So keep your palms flat and your thumbs can kind of just point out to the sides. We're just going to angle your fingers in toward each other, trying to keep your palms flat, and then angle them out away from each other. Come back to center, and now make a fist, as tight of a fist as you can, and flex your wrist. Just point those knuckles toward the floor as much as you can. And then unfurl, push your thumbs forward and flex your fingers back. So I'm pushing my thumbs forward toward the screen as I'm flexing my fingers back toward my face. Okay, and then flat palms again. Go in and out. Neutral, find your fist, really, really, really flex. And then push your thumbs forward and flex your fingers back. Just reaching thumbs forward. And we'll do that one more time. Flat hands, angle in. Try to keep your elbows straight. Just bend through your wrists. Angle out. Back to neutral. Super tight fist. Push your knuckles toward the floor. And then release that. Push your thumbs forward. Flex your fingers back. And then release your arms down. Just shake out your shoulders, and then you can find some neck rolls here. Start with your chin down. Go to one shoulder and then up. Other shoulder. Go 2 times one direction, and then you can switch. After you've finished, just make your way to standing. If you are sitting on anything, you can move it out of the way. And through this practice, you can always have a chair available. I'll show you a few things with the chair if you need that. But we're going to start standing. And just find your mountain pose, find your parallel feet. Root down through your heels, big toe ball mound, pinky toe ball mound, and lift up all 10 of your toes. And then find that engagement of your femur bones pushing toward the back plane of your body. So push your inner thighs back and apart, and then lift up through your lower belly. And after you've got all that activation, you can lower your toes to the ground and then let go of the rigidity. So you've got support through your legs and your lower belly, but you're not clenching or compromising your breath. We're just going to march back and forth, super slow, but we're just going to kind of work on this strength through our core and our balance. So shift your weight to your left foot, and just with a flexed right foot, just lift your knee up and try to stay straight through that left leg, but lift this right leg up as high as you can, and then lower it down, and slowly just shift to the other side. Flexing through that foot, really lift that left leg up as high as you can, and slowly lower down. And try to do this with control, and just notice what parts may be harder, or one leg may be harder to lower slowly than the other. Just going to go back and forth. And try to stay contained through those low ribs, but let your collarbones feel broad. Lift up that left leg and lower. And then switch, come to your right side, and then you can just grab around your shin and hold it. Maybe you can bring it up a little bit higher. And pause, find a stretch, push down through that left heel, get long up through the crown of your head, and then maybe let go of your hands and hold it just a little higher. Strengthening through those hip flexors, and then release. And we'll do the other side. Root down into that right foot and just lift your left leg up. You can hug onto your shin. Stay flexed through that left foot. And when you feel stable, really engage through that left low belly and your hip flexor, and then let go. And see if you can hold it. And then release. Step your feet a little wider than your hips and just find some hip circles there. And go one direction, then the other. And then release that effort. Bring your feet back. Sitting bone distance apart. Inhale and reach high. And then pause with your arms up. Soften your low ribs down and in, but then find a little bit of back bend and then reach up through your right arm a little bit further. And then reach up through your left arm a little bit further. And then reach through both arms, look up at the ceiling, and then exhale, fold over your legs. Soften your knees as much as you need to. And just go back and forth, kind of pedal out your legs here. Start to say hello to your hamstrings and your calves. And then we'll start to find a little bit of a twist. So as you bend into your left knee, you can root down through your left hand and reach up through your right arm. And then just switch sides, bend through that right knee, right hand to the floor, or to a leg, a block, the seat of a chair, and just go back and forth. So you'll kind of bend through the opposite leg as you reach an arm up. And let your twist come on your exhale. You just kind of wring yourself out. Let's do one more. And then pause. Find a knee bent, fold. You can even let your belly kind of connect with your thighs. Let your head hang. And just bring awareness to the sensation in your body. I find that a physical practice really helps with learning to find awareness for any kind of sensation, right? We're feeling sensation in our body. You can just recognize where you feel sensation. And then allow that, see if you can find some space around it. Take a big step back with your left foot, find a low lunge, left knee down. And then just come on upright. Do shoulder cars with our left arm. Just go back and forth 2 times. Just lift up with your left arm, lead with your thumb. When you can't anymore, really rotate through that shoulder joint to reach back and around. We'll just go back and forth. Without any judgment, just kind of notice how your shoulder's feeling today. Okay. And then take your right leg, just step it back. Okay, and we're gonna just play with load on this left arm. So I just want you to kind of lean forward and just bring that left hand down and then just push off of it. We're just gonna go in all different directions. So you can go wider than your mat, you can cross your body, but just briefly play with putting a little bit of load on this left arm. And then come up to kneeling, just switch sides, left foot forward. And find that shoulder rotation with your right arm. So lead with your thumb till you can't go back any further. And then you can rotate, reach back, and brush alongside that right hip. All the way around and come forward. One more, just both directions. And then find yourself on both of your knees, and we'll just play with that load on the other arm. So just lean forward and push off. Use some wrist strength. And you can even, kind of flick it away. Flick the floor away as you just go around a few times. And then we'll make our way to just a regular table. Hands on the floor. And then tuck your toes and just float your knees up off the floor. And then really think about dragging your wrists back and your toes forward, and just feel that in your belly. And then from here, bring your legs towards straight. Just shimmy my feet back a little bit. Come to a plank, and then come to your beast again, just knees hovering. And just go back and forth there a few times. If this is just too much, you can come into your plank with your knees down, and then come back and float your knees up. Let's do one more. Forward, and then float, and then knees down, and bring your forearms to the floor. And here, just find some cat and cow movement with your forearms on the floor. Tucking your chin and then looking forward. So isolating this movement a little more up in your thoracic spine. And then look forward, not in a way that's craning your neck, just let your neck be a gentle extension of your spine, and just find some scapular movement. So with your shoulder blades, draw your shoulder blades together and then pull them apart. And draw them together and pull them apart. And see if you can relax through your neck here. And then see if you can find some circles and lead those circles with your shoulder blades and the muscles around them. And then release your hips back to your heels and find a child's pose. Stretch long through your arms, your shoulders, and tops of your feet, hips and knees. You can stay here, you can come up in table, or make your way to downward facing dog. And just kind of greet your body here. Claw your fingertips into the floor and see if you can bring a little bit of weight out of your wrists. Push it into the base of your fingers. And then from there, push the floor away, and then feel like you're rotating your triceps in toward the midline of your body and lengthening through your outer armpits. Soften your lower ribs in and lift your sitting bones high. Find a little bend in your knees and then push the floor away with your hands again. And then push your inner thighs back to let your legs come towards straight. And find some engagement, some support through your belly. And then bring your knees to the floor. We're just going to cross our ankles underneath us and come to seated. And then bring your feet in front of you. I'm going to scoot kind of closer to the top of my mat. And just hold on to the tops of your shins under your knees. I just want you to do some cat and cow movement here. So really tuck your tailbone under you. Find some flexion in your spine. Engage your lower belly. And then pull your heart through. So kind of a cat and cow movement here. I really want you to think about this lower belly. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. And then we're gonna roll down. You can hold on to your legs. You can hold on to the backs of your thighs. I want you to try to roll yourself down one vertebrae at a time. So find your sacrum on the floor, and then your lowest back vertebrae, your next, next, next. Super slow. And then come all the way down onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest. And then take your right hand, well, actually, I'll do it this way first. Left hand in front of your left thigh, okay, and right hand around your right shin. And then resist, leg into hand with all your might. Just push and pull, and then switch. Right hand on your thigh, left hand around your shin, push and pull. And just go back and forth there a couple of times. And then release. Keep a hold of your right shin. You can hold it with both hands. And just lengthen your left leg forward to hover. Push your lower back into the floor as you lift up. And really squeeze this right knee in toward your armpit. And then maybe reach your arms forward. And just pause here. You can flex through your feet, or you can point, floint, make Barbie feet. Either way. And then release, just bring both knees into your chest. And we'll switch sides. So lengthen your right leg forward to hover. Okay, push your lower back into the floor and then curl yourself up. So you've got the strong belly support for your spinal flexion. You can hold onto your thigh, or you could reach forward and still breathe. So think about breathing wide through your rib cage. And then both knees into chest, let yourself relax back. Okay, we're gonna just alternate sides. So lift your head and chest and reach your left leg forward, and then bring it in, reach your right leg forward. Just back and forth. We're not gonna worry about twisting bicycle things. I just want you to engage through your belly and see if you can use this from your core strength and not overtax your neck. If you have to hold your head, that's fine. Just go back and forth a couple more times. And then release, relax down. Let your knees go wide. You can find a happy baby pose here. Push your tailbone toward the floor. Let your shoulders drop to the floor. And breathe into your belly. And then either roll to one side and make your way up to seated, or you can hold on to the backs of your legs or the fronts. Just rock our way up. And then cross your ankles, come into hands and knees. Take your right leg back and just lift your heel up toward the ceiling. Just do some circles here. Right knee out to the right, towards your armpit, and back to where it started. And then bring your knee in and out to the side. Lead with your foot. And then again, out to the side, toward your armpit, and then step your foot between your hands. Set yourself up for a lunge. Tuck your back toes and lift your back knee. Reach high. And just breathe through the front of that left hip after that work through your left hip flexor. Just breathe here. And take one more breath. And then find a little bend in your knee. Push your tailbone down and see if you can clear through that hip flexor even a little more. And then ground your left heel, open up to warrior two. And just pause there. See if you can feel like you're pulling your right heel back to engage and feel strong there. And then inhale, reverse. And then exhale into side angle pose. Right forearm on right thigh, lift your left arm alongside your ear. And then reach your heart up. Find some big circles with that left arm. And then switch directions. Open up. And then cartwheel your hands down. Inhale yourself to a plank and just pause here. You can bring your knees down if you need to, and we'll do a few shoulder taps. So you'll just kind of rock your way onto your left hand. And just before you even lift your right hand, just imagine, what do you need to do with your left arm to support you? And then tap your left shoulder, plant your right hand, tap your left hand to your right shoulder. Just go back and forth a couple of times. And then lift your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Collect your breath there. And then bring your knees to the floor. Left leg lifts back. Knee out to the side. Knee toward your armpit, toward the center. And then switch directions. Knee in, out, back where you started. And then lift up and back. And this time, plant your foot between your hands. Set yourself up for a high lunge. And reach. Push back through that right heel and engage through your right glute to open through the front of that right hip. And then you can bend into your knee a little bit and kind of tuck your pelvis forward even more. Maybe get that into your quad. And then ground your right heel, open your arms wide. Feel like you're dragging your left heel back to turn on the back of that left leg. And then inhale, reverse your warrior. And exhale to your side angle pose. Left forearm on left thigh. Reach that right arm alongside your ear. And then your ear and shoulder resist each other. Find those big shoulder circles. And then switch directions. Reach up. And then cartwheel, hands down. Inhale to your plank. Knees up or down, and just find your shoulder taps. And then lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Stretch long from your pinky fingernail out through your armpits. And then bend your knees and bring your knees to the floor. Walk your hands back. We're just gonna sit here. And you can use a chair for this if you need to. I'll turn around. Or just use the floor. We're just gonna rock from this kneeling crouch back into a squat, okay? So you can use your hands on the floor, use your hands on a chair. You could do this by your couch. And you can experiment with how wide your knees and feet need to be. Just kind of get into your feet, your ankles. And you can play with the support of the floor, or you can do it without hands. Moving into your squat and into your kneel. we do one more. Back and forth. And then we'll find a standing forward fold. Just straighten your legs. Your hands can be on your chair, on the floor, wherever you are. Give your ankles a break. You can bend your knees as you need to. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then just inhale your left foot back to a lunge. Rotate that left heel down and come up to a warrior two here. And just pause again. Inhale, reverse. And then exhale into your side angle pose. This time your forearm can be on your thigh or all the way down to the floor. Left arm alongside your ear. And then we'll just rotate that hand down, lift your back heel, bring your left knee to the floor, and come up into a low lunge. And from here, find a side bend over to your right. You can just drop that right hand alongside your hip, reach that left arm up. And then from here, find a twist. Left hand outside that right knee, right arm back. You can stay here. You could bring this left elbow outside your right knee, maybe hands together. Maybe lift your back knee. And then unwind, hands down. Inhale to plank. You can go through a vinyasa if you want, lower or just straight back to downward facing dog, table, or child's pose. Look forward at the top of your mat. Exhale, bend your knees, step or float to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. And we'll just move straight into the other side. Inhale to step your right foot back, ground your heel, and open up into your warrior two. And just pause there. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Exhale into your side angle. So forearm on thigh or hand to the floor. Open through your heart. And then cartwheel this right hand down. Lift your right knee to the floor. And come on up to a low lunge. Drop your left hand, side bend over to your left. Get long through that right side. And then right hand outside that left knee. Reach your left arm back. And stay here. Or you can bring that right elbow down, maybe hands together. Maybe lift your back knee. And then look down, hands to the floor. Inhale to your plank. You can exhale through your vinyasa or go straight back to downward facing dog. We'll just meet in downward facing dog. Step your feet as wide as your mat. And then just walk your hands back towards your feet. From here, turn your toes in, your heels out, and sit down in your malasana. We're going to come up and down a few times. So again, you could turn to face your chair or couch if you want to use your hands. We're just going to come all the way up to standing and then come down. And all the way up to standing and come down. Now you can play here with just standing and squatting. You can play with holding your squat or finding that support. You could sit on a block or sit on a chair and just work on opening here and finding the support through your core. Or you can play with just some little crouches and rocks. So I don't even want you to think about for getting into the arm balance pose yet. We're just going to put our hands down and just rock forward. Put your hands down, maybe put your knees up on your your upper arms, but just rocking forward and back. So or you can be squatting up and down to your chair, just rocking forward and back. Let's do that. A couple more breaths wherever you are. And then find a standing forward fold. Kind of shake your hips from side to side. And then we'll make our way to our backs. One last fun way to play. So we've got options here. Start on your back and bring your knees into your chest. Let your knees go wide. Just reach your arms up between your legs and kind of squeeze your upper legs into your upper arms. You can flex through your wrists and really push your lower back into the floor and flex through your spine. So this is like that cat pose, totally rounding to your little ball. And then you can release. Maybe reach your arms high, maybe even lengthen your legs. So that's option number one, is just to come in and out of this here. Option number two is to practice rolling up, okay? And try to keep that rounded curve through your spine the whole time as you rock and roll. Okay. Let's see if I can do that. Another option is to play with just rocking all the way to your squat and maybe planting your hands and floating your feet up. Okay, so those are all of your options for playing here. So wherever you are, just kind of play with that core strength and really hugging into your body, and you've got that real engagement through those hip flexors. I often talk about that tight psoas from sitting all day, but usually it's tight and weak, right? Because it's not really being actively used. We do want strong hip flexors, responsive hip flexors. All right. If you've been playing with your arm balance, maybe find it and hold it for a few breaths. If you're on your back, you can just rest. And then we'll all come down and make your way to a seat with your knees bent, feet wide, hands back behind you. And just windshield wiper your legs from side to side. Anyway, hopefully that was fun. Free form playing. And you found something fun there. And just really think about the internal rotation. And then as you open up, see if you can open up as far as possible with the opening leg before you move the other. And so open up wide and then come in. Let's open up to one side. So I've got my right leg internally rotated. I'm just going to keep twisting to my left, reach through that right arm. You You can even grab onto your right tricep. Just find a nice twist. And then you can come down onto this left forearm or whatever arm and reach for your ankle. And just find a quad stretch, hip flexor stretch here. And then release. Push yourself up. We'll just twist all the way to the other side. So my left leg's internally rotated this time. You can do whatever, but then reach back with that same arm. I'm gonna reach for my outer right tricep. And then lower right forearm to the floor and find that quad stretch through my left quad. So grabbing that left ankle with my left hand. Engage through your glute. And then unwind. So we'll make our way onto our backs and make our way to bridge. So some of you might want a deeper psoas stretch. So I'll demonstrate that, but there's no one has to do this. So you could start with I'm going to start with my right knee bent and my heel is outside of my bum. Now, if this is just too much on your knees, do not do this. But if it feels good, you can do this and then come down. Everyone's down on their backs. If you've got this right leg bent, just keep it there, okay? And really energetically push all 5 of your toes into the floor. And then as you're ready, push into that left foot and lift your hips up any amount. Now everyone, if both of your feet are on the floor, just a regular bridge, you can just do regular bridge. So my hips are hardly coming up at all. I'm just deepening the stretch through the front of my right leg, through my quad. You engage through your bum and kind of push that right knee toward the floor. Okay. So if you're doing this half Virasana, just switch sides. You can come back to seated and get that left knee bent, or you can do it on the ground. You just kind of got to listen to your body. If you're up in a regular bridge, just come on down. Take a breath or a rest, and then come up for one more round. So turn here. Just opening through the whole front body after we did all of that hip flexor work. So I'm working my left knee toward the floor still as I open through the front of that hip and leg. And then release. Take your feet as wide as your mat and just knock your knees together. And then this is called constructive rest. See if you can completely relax through your belly. You can even bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. You can return to that, recognizing whatever experience it is, just recognize and allow whatever is happening in your body. And get curious with your investigation. Get curious about how your breath affects your state. And then we'll switch the arrangement of our legs. Just bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees go wide. And just pause there. Notice if there's tension in your throat, your shoulders, your face. See if you can relax there. And then find any last movements that you'd like to find as we wind up and come to our final rest. It may feel really good to find a twist and bring both of your knees to one side and look the opposite way. Relax through your shoulder. If you're twisted, just twist to the other side. Rock yourself back to center. Find any last movements, maybe happy baby pose, just giving yourself another hug. And then set yourself up for your final rest. So maybe it's just legs long, flat on the floor. If you want extra hip flexor support or release, you can bring a folded blanket or rolled blanket underneath your bum. So you're just kind of creating a little bit of lift there, but not so high that it's hard on your lower back, just enough. You can bring legs up the wall, legs on a chair. But wherever you are, bring your hands to your low ribs and just breathe into your hands for several breaths. Really expanding into your side ribs. And then let your exhale be as long as it possibly can. And then again, when you're ready, just fill up as full as you can into your hands. And then let your exhale draw out as slowly as you can let it. And then release your hands from your body. Just let them go, palms face up. And then completely let go of the effort of breathing. Just let yourself be. Completely relax. You are the teacher you've been waiting for. The only time we suffer is when we believe a thought that argues with what is. When we stop opposing reality, action becomes simple, fluid, kind, and fearless. Feel free to stay here for as long as you'd like. The divine light in me honors the divine light in you. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.